Alrighty, we are hereby streaming live from New York. It's Friday morning live. Yeah, it's not even Thursday night anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and get the chat on screen, and then we're gonna take it from there. I don't have anything terribly. Well, I got a couple of things planned, but nothing. Well, it's a tricky one. I want to say I don't have anything terribly specific planned. But the word terrible and specific actually are things that we do have in mind tonight. But we're not going to cover that topic first. I'm going to wait till the chat arrives and people are chatting and talking. And then we'll go ahead and touch on the juicy stuff maybe after we do some, mundane stuff. And you guys will understand as we go along. But for now, I'm going to go validate a couple of things. Like I say, we want to have that chat on screen. See, we got a chat on screen now. I'm going to click live chat, so it's live. And it might take a little while for people to pop in because, I started really, really like last minute. Right now, I'm just kind of organizing some videos, some pictures. Troy Pichelli, how you doing there today, good sir? I gotta tune into a replay of it. Well, I think we're gonna do a little bit of space stuff because I kind of want to touch on the Tiananmen Square massacre, Troy. But I don't know if we want to open up with that. You know what I mean? I want to give people an opportunity to kind of look away from the screen when I show the really ugly stuff, which I'm not even sure if I'll show, but I kind of like have a no bleeps given attitude. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do anything. But for now, maybe we'll just mess around in space while we wait for the chat to file in. Hey, my little thing is over here. I'm going to move myself to the corner. Uh-oh. So I hit the undo button, and when you hit the undo button in OBS, things get weird sometimes, let me tell you. Oh, God. I almost broke the camera by putting me in full screen. You saw that? See what I mean? I told you guys there's different points in the show where I got to tell people to look away or they might go blind. Oh, my God. Did you guys just... Hey, what's up, Netters Network? Did you guys just end your show just now? Let's see. I bet you just ended your show. Let me see here. Well, I don't know if you guys ended your show, but I see both you and Troy, of course, got like a pretty stacked schedule here. Look at that. That's nice and organized. That's how I should do it. Is like put things in a week in advance, 2 weeks in advance, a month in advance. This is pretty slick right over here, what you guys do. I really think it's cool, But did I miss a show? I did. Streamed 1 hour ago. You guys just wrapped up, I see. That's pretty cool. Well, I'll drop some links for you guys. I don't think I programmed you into the stream elements yet, but I think we should just drop links while we're letting people follow, and then we're gonna just kind of, like I say, we're gonna just, like I said, I think we're gonna keep it soft, but this is the anniversary of a great massacre, the Tiananmen Square massacre, and I don't know, I took an interest in it like a few days ago. Maybe I must have stumbled into something. I don't even know. Troy is still alive technically. Look at that. Troy's still alive. Either that or you left this stream running. I've done that before. So you know what? I'm gonna share his live show. There we go. Yeah, it's over. It was a false positive. You're not live anymore. That would be funny. I wanted to share your live stream. I wish you were live right now. There we go. But usually I put like notice out a few minutes before or hours before the show. And so, usually people know what's up. But I figure we do touch on space, something peaceful. I'm not looking to really touch on the Elon drama, except that it appears he may have indeed acted like a child, having a bit of a tantrum there. And it's a real shame because what he's doing with the rocket company, or in particular the people he hired to run that company, they're doing a good job. I mean, they got that giant rocket being caught by Mechazilla. That's the giant launch tower with the chopsticks on it. That thing looks freaking cool in action. You got the Falcon 9 boosters landing side by side when they do a Falcon super heavy launch. You got like a triple booster rocket. And, you know, the work he did with Trump in the past year was interesting. You know, whether he sometimes acted a little bit childish at times, I do appreciate when things get shooken up a little bit, you know? And I believe that anything shaking things up is better than the status quo. That's like my general opinion. And my mouse pointer is... I can't see my mouse pointer. Oh, how's my audio? Am I sitting too far away from the microphone? I apologize. Oh, don't tell me I gotta change my batteries now. And this is my good mouse pointer, too. Let me tell you, like, I mean, I got the batteries right over there. Let's see, I'm gonna do something cheap. I'm gonna change half the batteries in my mouse. Kids, don't try this at home. As they say on the toys that you own as kids, do not mix batteries. Now, these are both the same brand. Whatever, I have to use my other mouse pointer. So I got one mouse that has like a bad left click button. I got another mouse that has a bad scroll wheel. So it's like 2 busted mice equals 1 working mouse. And that's sort of like how I've been rolling here. Rolling, get it, he's got a ball. All right. So last week I was in space. And that's where the thumbnail for today came from. And so, where was it? See, I'm going to get some batteries. I use these Panasonic batteries right over here. These are Panasonic Eneloop batteries. They're rechargeable. They're among the best nickel metal hydride batteries available. And, well, you know, they're pretty handy dandy, right? I'm not wasting alkaline batteries, and I'm not an environmentalist, but why throw away batteries if you can just recharge them? There we go. Oh, yeah, we're back in business. Okay, good. So anyway, where was I? Where's my nearest object? And we do have a gamepad here, and I believe... Oh, yeah, the gamepad works today. All right. All right. There we go. Just shuffle this window over here. And like I said, I don't think we're going to delve too deeply into the so-called massacre. I mean, it is a massacre. It's not so-called. That's like whitewashing history right there. But the object we were looking at in the frame, was it the moon? I'm trying to remember what object. It wasn't the moon. The picture, literally, the thumbnail image that we have was not the moon. And I can't remember for the life of me what it was, but I want to say it was probably, let's see, let's find out. Let's just pick a random dwarf moon in our solar system, and I'm sure eventually we'll find something. Well, it wasn't this one, but interestingly, I was doing a little project yesterday where I was recording a video, and my goal was to fly through the Milky Way galaxy. And so sometimes, like, you know, the way this app works is you record a path, and as you fly the 3D camera through that path, you can then replay that path later on. And the purpose of that is to get better video, because when you're doing it in real time, maybe the frame rate will stutter. Right now, it's actually working really well. And there's a multitude of settings that allow for that. So right now, some of them are just cosmetic or allowing us to kind of keep tabs on what we're doing. But we're going to turn off the, let me see here. Yep, there we go. Prime meridian. That's the arrow that is pointing at some odd angle. The velocity vector, I guess the direction the planet is moving in. Direction to parent. And rotational axis. So I'm going to leave those all checked on, but I'm going to turn it off together, so we can always turn them on if we want. And you can turn on a geographical grid. So if you're ever trying to, like, line up for, like, a good picture and you want to know, like, you know, just the layout, you could do that. But what interests me in particular, you know, we can see this red line here. We know it's going to travel through the solar system along that red line. You can see this is actually not even a spherical object. Look at that, it's kind of lumpy, isn't it? You know, it's like it's almost an oval, and it's kind of interesting because it's brother, its friend, its neighbor, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's hardly a neighbor. It's just on a similar orbital trajectory. Is Haumea. It's a Hawaiian name, I believe. And if we type Haumea, we've been over this before, but it's a cool one in my opinion. I always forget how to spell it. I can't spell Haumea. All right, we're going to just zoom out of the solar system until we see Haumea. And Haumea is probably, I'm a little dizzy here. Oh, we're upside down. Oh, you can't be upside down in space, can you? There we go, Haumea. And Haumea, you got like a nice dinosaur egg-looking thing over here. And while those numbers may take away from the beauty of the image, the numbers in the corner do tell us a lot of important things here, right? We got like the diameter is 0.15 diameter of the Earth, and that's what that circle with a cross in the middle means. We can see that. Oops, I clicked on another window. Pardon the blankness. You know, you got your diameter in kilometers as well. And you got a ring system, and you can notice the ring system casts a shadow. Now, we don't really have a clear picture of this planet, so a lot of these things are sort of like estimates based on the data that has been gathered by real astronomers. But the other day, getting back to Makemake, Makemake. Let me click on it directly. When you want to colonize a planet, you got to think a moon, perhaps, right? Like a nice desolate moon. You got to pick an area that maybe gets continuous sunlight. So how do you figure that out? And well, you might do something like this and try to figure out where the shadow goes. You might try to rotate with the object like this. And if you do that, then you have a little more ability here, right? You can kind of do this. You can kind of do that. And find an area where it never gets shadow. And some places have these and other places don't. In this case, I think the center of spin is right around here. And you can see as we're fast forwarding the speed of the planet's rotation, because that's what we're doing here, you can see that shadow moving around. And it's kind of interesting. But yeah, is anybody interested in the heavy topic tonight? You know, because I don't know if we really want to touch on that one, but the gist of it is, I guess the question is, if anybody, you know, I'm going to share the positive part. How about that? Let's keep it real simple. So I'm like kind of like delving into this topic, right? You know, watching a couple videos, reading about the Tiananmen Square protests from 1989. And one of the things that was like almost heartbreaking to watch was this video of a man on a bicycle here. I'm going to play it right now. Oh, I got to put on the audio. We'll put the audio on. All right, hopefully this ain't too loud. Right, so I can translate it. He's actually speaking English. So, you know, he's a student. He's a university student. Speaks pretty good English, but, you know, he's got like a bit of an accent. And he's telling us where he's going and why he's going there.
Going to March. Tiananmen Square. Why? Why? I think this is my duty. Going to March. Tiananmen Square. Why? Why? I think this is my duty.
And, you know, that's all. He just says, like, why he's going to Tiananmen Square. He's going there to march. And when he's asked why by the journalist, presumably on a neighboring bicycle, which I don't know if they had cameras that easy to hold on a bicycle in 1989, but maybe he was in a car. I don't know. He's like, I know it's not like a big deal, but I am curious about the logistics here. But this messed with me, man. Let me tell you. This messed with me because, like, this guy is so enthusiastic, right? He's got that bright-eyed enthusiasm. And, you know, he firmly believes that he's exercising a right that he has. That, you know, they can go to this, you know, square they can protest, and he believes it's his duty. He sounds like a Chinese patriot, or even like, you know, like what we would consider like an American patriot, how one of them, a good American patriot, might sound like. That's what this guy sounds like. And it's like really heartbreaking watching him, because it's like, you know that, he's going into a place where things get ugly. And in some of the stuff I watched recently, I saw some like, what was it? What was that guy's name? Oof. Not that I'm trying to promote other people's channels that I don't know, but was it China Insider? They always mix these channels up. China Insider, China Observer. But anyway, this guy named, I think, David Zhang. And he went into pretty good damn detail on the topic, and he actually was pretty accurate in addressing some of the counter talking points. In fact, I got a hilarious Twitter comment that I replied to. Hey, what's up, Bill? Yeah, so I started with space, and I am going to go back into space so we can get into something lighthearted, maybe play a little game, But, being the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre, I figured, why not? Why not touch on it, So I got a hilarious comment here. Absolutely hilarious. So someone posts in memory of Tiananmen Square up here on, on Twitter, right? And then, scrolling down, this guy plays a video of the Tank Man and a video of the police during the Summer of Love. And these are actually NYPD in my own stomping grounds. That was cool. I think they added sound effects to this, I just realized. Hey, I don't have the chat on screen. It's probably a good thing we don't have the chat on screen. I don't want to... here's the chat. Wait, where's the chat? That's weird. The chat disappeared. It's a conspiracy. I'm kidding. Yeah, we got the chat back. Sorry about that, guys. We want the chat on screen, But yeah, anyway, so let's see if these sound effects are real. I didn't even notice this. I didn't play it with sound before. Those are not real sound effects. Like, the car's barely moving fast enough to make that thumping sound. That's funnier. Okay, that's not even why I was posting this either, but that's pretty funny, like, the amplified... Oh, the chat's on screen. Here, let me get you guys off screen. I don't want you guys getting onto a list. I'm kidding, but... Okay, but there we go. I played it with the sound effects, and now you can't say I'm being dishonest by not including the sound effects. But this is the juicy part. So this guy's trying to draw the force equivalency, right? And I want to give a shout out to Game Gear Goddess and LCX and NetEase Network and Troy. Good to see all four of you guys today. And I did play Space Harrier on the Genesis, and I was a little disappointed that it wasn't a Harrier jet like in True Lies, but it was still a cool game. It was a pioneering game. It had 3D looking graphics in a 2D environment, right? Or on a whatever 16-bit console, whatever they call it. So anyway, bottom line is the obvious comparison is that the Chinese tanks in 1989 didn't even run over this guy with the shopping bags. Look at that. He climbed on the tank. He did all this stuff. Nothing bad happened. Nothing bad happened that night, or the night after, or the night after that. Nothing bad happened. But here in this picture, the NYPD are not only running people over, but apparently doing it with enough dramatic force to make thumping sounds on the hood. Bah, 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 bah. Although the reality is, if you're ever driving a car and a group of rioters surround your car, don't stop. Don't necessarily ram them either. But, if you go like 2 miles an hour, they can't stop your car. You know what I mean? Once you stop, you're kind of screwed. But if you keep moving, it's kind of like they're going to either move over or they get pushed over. And generally, if you're driving slow enough, they're not going to get run over in the conventional sense. You know what I mean? So that's basically the gist of it. But anyway, that's what this, I believe, the bottom SUV is doing. I mean, nobody actually gets run over, like just people kind of climb in a car. You don't see anyone get stuck under the car. They're just kind of being dragged by it. So now, the interesting thing is a lot of people might not know much about Tiananmen Square massacre, in particular, why I'm calling it a massacre. And what was funny was, like, I was reading a Reddit post on the Mandela Effect Reddit page. It's funny, I think someone brought up the Mandela Effect like a week ago. I would love to have a guest But luckily for me, Wade, I've never used Discord to have guests on my show, and I am currently streaming straight from OBS. See? Yeah. Ooh, oh, wait. We got little. Okay, I'm sorry. I get easily amused by seeing myself in an infinite mirror. We should make arrangements to actually have you on. So anyway, and I should learn how to use like Discord like other people. I mean, I know how to use Discord. I should learn how to like use other methods aside from streaming directly through the browser. It's good to have options. But where was my brain? I'm sorry, let me get my brain back. So of course more happened, right? And so David Zhang, that's it. Yeah, David Zhang. Okay, David Zhang, China something. China Insider. Okay, this guy. He did a very good video. And he was pretty honest about it, because the thing is, there's a lot of counterpoints, like, oh, what really happened that day? Oh, these guys were rabble rousers, or, any number of things. And I believe, was it this video or was it an older video? Might have been an older video, but this one's a really new video. He went to Taiwan, where they actually still commemorate the day, whereas in in like Hong Kong, they no longer do that. And one of the interesting things I learned about the Tiananmen Square thing was the Goddess of Liberty statue. And it just is, the students made a paper mache statue. There it is. And they kind of rallied around the statue and did their thing until the ugly stuff happened. Now, once the military came, first time the military came in, according to some of the stories I was hearing, everything was cool. People expected the military to be cool because they were like, well, they're for us and we're for them. And some of the guys were local. The second time the military came, apparently they got guys from a different province or a different region, guys who didn't have personal ties. They, government may have told these guys that, the protesters were violent or something like that. So bottom line is they were ready to, get some blood during the second visit. And while they denied access to the square, it was down the block and in the surrounding city where a lot of the bloodshed occurred. And there's plenty of videos. I don't need to play the videos. But, of course, some people would deny, say, oh, like one guy was talking about a professor he knew who was more of a hardliner or, pro-CCP hardliner, at least maybe the guy's covering his ass. And he was of the impression that he, that, he just basically saying, oh, well, yeah, a bunch of these kids blew up a light armored vehicle. Oh, how, what a shame, those poor soldier boys, And I get it, yeah, I feel bad for the soldiers who get killed, especially when they're just doing their job and whatnot. But of course, the guy either had a limited understanding of what really happened or decided to be selective about it. Or, some people, you got to cover your ass. Like, I'm hearing stories about people that go on a tour group and the tour guide will be like, nothing happened on that day. Nothing happened here. Please don't ask any questions about it. Nothing happened. Stuff like that. But and I can empathize. Like if I was a tour guide, yeah, I would not want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, But anyway, the Mandela effect. So these people on the Mandela effect about it are saying they remember seeing the Tank Man, the famous guy who, stood in front of the tank, during the Tiananmen Square protests. They remember him getting run over by the tank. And some people are saying, no, I definitely remember the guy not getting run over. And other guys say, oh, I definitely remember seeing it, man. His guts were underground, blah, blah, blah. And what I love about the Mandela effect is, or what I hate about it is, it's usually people just, they're not willing to account for, maybe they don't know everything. You know what I mean? Like, they think they know everything. Or they think that their memory is so infallible. They can't imagine of their memory being wrong, I guess. Because there's really no logical reason why they couldn't be open to the idea that, hey, maybe they didn't see everything related. It's like, you could say you were alive back then and watching it on TV, but that was on TV. So you may have saw one video of a guy getting run over by a tank and another video of the Tank Man years later and assumed that was the same thing when it wasn't. And so this is where the ugly stuff comes in. So, while I was watching one of David Zhang's videos, China Insider here, this gentleman here, he has a Tiananmen Square video. And by the way, if you try to use the internal search, you got to remember how to spell it first of all. Because there's two ways to spell it. I forgot how to spell it already. Give me a second. Okay, spelling of Tiananmen, yeah, Tiananmen square. Okay. So there's like 4 ways to spell it. Okay, so there's one. Let's see, is that, yep, there it is. So it was funny because about a month ago, someone in China or someone pro-China released a video. They're shitting on, the massacre. They're saying, oh, that didn't happen, and they're kind of giving their talking points. So David Zhang did a piece-by-piece takedown. But he said, yeah, okay, yeah, people weren't massacred in the square. But, like about 20 minutes east of the square or west of the square, yeah, they were massacred over there. Or different examples, very specific, examples kind of like counter the talking points. And he had hyperlinks in there. He had links to, oh, and I didn't even show you guys what I did to the tweet. Okay, well, hang on. I replied to the tweet with a funny reply. So anyway, he posted a number of resources, links to sites with, blog posts or articles and real pictures. Some of them are really bad, you know what I mean? Like, just really ugly stuff. And getting back to this post, so how did I reply to this post? Well, you might want to close your eyes, but I'll scroll down like only partially down so you don't see the whole thing. Right, there we go. So he's saying, okay, yeah, look, we didn't, the Chinese government did not have their soldiers run over people with tanks. Look at Tank Man. They did nothing to Tank Man. He's fine. But you guys, during your riots, during your summer of love, whatever you want to call it, of course, had, like police SUVs running over crowds of people. Okay, so clearly, you guys are worse than we are, which is, I guess, the implication. Or your nation's government, your nation's authorities are worse. And then in this picture over here, if I were to scroll down, you'd see a man or a woman's blood and guts and bones crushed to a pulp. And you can see the coloring on that tank track over here. You can see that red here. You can see some red here. You can see some red here. And I'm not going to make you guys sick by scrolling down unless you guys actually, if I get like a unanimous vote. If everyone in chat's like, yeah, please show me, I'll do it. But, I think we can spare you guys of that. You can always go to Twitter. You can always look up the picture. You can take a screenshot, do a reverse Google search. You can go, go to the China Insiders channel and then go to those links and find everything you need. So I don't really need to be one to give you the links per se. Although I guess I could show you guys if you want. But like I said, trying to strike a balance here. Like if I scroll up through here, yep. Okay, so these are bullet casings that were found after the fact. So it's sort of like people saying, yeah, this happened. And I should move the window over, shouldn't I? People saying that happened, And I believe there's a lot of gruesome stuff before that. Okay, so you got son of a... How long was I on mute? It must be the conspiracy. Okay, I'm sorry. That's some ASMR for you guys. You want more ASMR? ASMR. Okay, I'm sorry. I love making fun of ASMR videos. I mean, I don't have any issue with them mostly. Some of them are kind of weird, though. So as I was saying, there was a place. Let me just double check. Protest Zhonghai. How do you spell that? Like, I just want to know the name of the place. Like, is it John? Is it Zhong? Is it Yang? You know what I mean? Oh, I think it's called Zhonghai. I don't know. Well, anyway, words that you hear but you don't know how to spell or pronounce. Yeah, I hear you. I do that sometimes too, Game Gear Goddess. When I'm watching other people streaming, I have to stop and check myself because I'm worried that if I tell people they're muted and then they're going to try to troubleshoot an issue that don't exist. So as I was saying, I got protesters over here. And I don't know, like I said, there was a building called something like, it rhymes with Zhonghai. I don't know how it's spelled. Don't know how it's exactly pronounced. But it sounded like a high school. So I'm picturing people protesting at a high school. But no, it was just like a government building or something. I started to see, that's someone, okay, this one's not too bad. I mean, it's bad, but, it's not like, it's like you're not seeing too many guts. And I think it's important that we see that picture, Same thing with this one here. Okay, not that one. That one is too bad. But, like this one, you can kind of see that people either bodies being identified or people being treated on a hospital floor, a combination of both. Certainly, there are tons of pictures of bodies on the hospital floor. Okay, there we go. I'm scrolling past some really gruesome ones here. You guys want me to drop this link? Yep, that's awful. This picture is awful. This guy's getting a bullet dug out of his neck. I'll just describe it for you guys because, you know, seems like better to describe it than to actually, you know, show you. I don't know if it's better. No, really, none of it's good. This one, I don't know if that's like a riot hose or a water cannon, or if that's just like smoke from a fire, or if they're cleaning up the night after. Because I mean, I heard rumors that they cleaned up the night after. I don't know about rumors, but you know, I didn't see videos of anyone hosing the street down. But obviously, you got to do something, right? If you're the government, after you have a massacre in the street, it stands to be reason you'd be hosing it down. I heard stories of students that were there. They saw scores of abandoned bicycles. Here's one. Well, here's like, these aren't really abandoned bicycles. These are just piles of bicycles with bodies next to them. This one, did we see this one yet? Well, here's one of them right here. These are the bodies that are definitely not alive. I believe they're not alive anymore. I'm not really sure, but mostly I'm sure. Well, I'm sure a good many of them are not alive. I got a picture of a guy whose legs were clearly driven over by a tank. He survived. He's actually in pictures years later. Like, you don't want to see the pictures now of his legs mangled, but like they're real. And there's pictures of a guy with like, you know, nubs or whatever you want to call him. And he's actually looks pretty handsome, the guy. He looks pretty handsome and tough, I gotta say. Like, I don't know if he like did a lot of upper body workout, but I'd imagine that he probably was reliant on his upper body after losing the lower part of his legs, and he kept it rolling, you know. Oh god, that's okay. That was not a pun, but you know, wheelchairs and stuff, you know, it does sound like a pun. So that website was this WordPress blog over here, and I better just give you guys the link because I mean I can't freaking like tell you how to type that. Like, okay, I don't even that screen. I don't know if that's even legible. I pasted it in. Hey, why is there a gray bar at the bottom of this here? So you guys want to go back to doing space stuff now? No, okay, let's just really quickly see if we've got anything else that's important to show you guys. Like I said, like, you know, not something we talk about. Oh, God, Jesus Christ. I didn't mean to leave that on screen. I'm sorry, guys. So, yeah, bottom line is that I never seen these pictures before. I kind of, like, heard people vaguely mention them, but I've never seen them before. And so, you know, I mean, I've seen, like, some of the more, you know, milquetoast pictures, right? You know, stuff like this here, and even this up here, you know, but nothing too, you know, whatchamacallit, whatever the term is, gruesome. I'm trying to get, I should use Chrome for this. Look, Firefox is a mixed bag, but I say Google Chrome has a better built-in translation feature by far. At about 5 a.m. on June 4th, 1989, people were isolated outside the square by the Chinese Army. It says Chinese Army. I think it was a PLA, People's Liberation Army. I love those ironic branding conventions, you know? The People's Liberation Army. So bottom line is I'm happy, I'm honored to be able to post this picture of a tank, you know, that has pulverized, or a light armored vehicle that has pulverized a human being in response to some jackass who thinks that these two things are comparable. And actually another example that came up was Kent State. And you know, it's like easy to address. Like, yeah, that was bad. Difference is that we acknowledge it was bad. You know what I mean? Like, nobody denies Kent State happened. Everyone's aware of it. And if you're not aware of it, you can look into it. And it was a thing that happened. It's like 4 people got shot. And that's not good, right? You're not supposed to shoot protesters at a university. But, you know, 4 protesters versus like hundreds, maybe thousands. And tanks indiscriminately running over people at some point, which in fairness, like, if I was a soldier under the impression that the protesters were violent and I was afraid for my life, or if I can get shot by my commanding officer for not you know, harming people, I don't know, I can't really honestly say how I might act in that exact position. I'm not going to play Monday morning quarterback on that one, you know? And real quick, on an unrelated note, on a lighter note, and I think Friday, Friday, that's tomorrow, right? think I'm going out tomorrow night. Gotta double check that. I got a message from a friend who usually has me over, so I should. Hey, California Ford 44, thanks for the like, sweetie. I didn't see a message until just now. I'm sorry. So embroiled in the topic and muting my own audio, as you would do. Lol, it was a battery conspiracy, right? Right? Yeah, the batteries in my mouse pointer. Troy, I'm glad you appreciate the ASMR. We can do more for you here. We're gonna pretend we're in a hair salon. Okay, I'm kidding. But no, it's like I went through the ASMR videos and it's like, okay, some of them are like a girl combing hair and talking to you softly like, you're in the hair salon, and doing that routine. So apparently Space Harrier 32X is nearly arcade perfect. And I got a message on Twitter. I'll get it later. I'm not going to check it right now. But, okay, typical Riot stuff, right? Nothing too gruesome here. Here, let's resend that. How do you guys like my Gundam Firefox background? It's one of the only reasons I started using this instance of Firefox 2. It's like I've got an RX78-2 in the background. Ooh, a Nobeta ASMR. And we all know the old saying, Korumi loves Nobeta. That's a friend of ours. Korumi is a gamer. Goes by the name of Korumi, the good gamer. Okay, so, yeah, no, there's no really family-friendly pictures here at all, but I'll show you. Here we are. We're back to something that is relatively safe. Okay, so you got tanks. You got some stuff in the background. I can't really tell if there's what. But certainly, not a place you want to get near. That's certainly a pretty solid perimeter. Okay, people on the hospital floor. Some, with blood. Some with no leg. Okay, people carrying benches. People were carrying people into the hospital on benches. I guess the benches were pretty light because, a bench can be pretty heavy sometimes, But, okay, and then this is the same ugly picture that I posted in response to somebody who was outright denying that any of this happened. Like I said, it's not like, I'm not here to, knock down Chinese national prestige. Okay, we got a hardworking citizenry there. I've been watching a lot of videos about the the results of the tariffs and how some of the manufacturing or business that would have gone to China went to Vietnam, and when the tariffs were lifted, of course, if orders were already placed in another country, or if a business was is not confident that something can happen again, they absolutely would continue to just keep moving their business elsewhere. And I see some younger guys or guys that are closer to my age running factories of machines saying, these machines were a moneymaker. Now they're like a burden to them. It's like a burden because, you're trying to get the machines to be productive. A machine that's not making money, I guess, is losing money. Or in general, like any place that you got to pay rent to put machines into a room and maintain the machines and all of that crap, it becomes a burden if the machines are not being utilized. You got rickshaw drivers. They were moving people around a lot. There was like a video. Do I have the video? I should have shared that video. It's very interesting. Don't have it now. I don't know. Maybe I'll post it on Twitter. If I post any of this, it's going to be on Twitter. I'm not going to make it a YouTube community post. That's for sure. Rather keep a low profile. You know what I mean? Yeah, moral dilemma. Tell me about it. And that's the thing. So it's like I'm willing to play devil's advocate in a moral dilemma like that. I'm not gonna say it was right or anything like that, but I could see different angles. Maybe some of these guys were hardcore. Like when they called the second group of soldiers, because the first group of soldiers did not do shit. They were kind of being nice. The grandmas were giving them drinks. Like soft drinks or whatever they have, and everyone was cool. And then they were ordered out when it was, I guess, realized they weren't going to be the ones shooting. And then another group of guys came in, probably from a different province or something like that. I forget the exact terminology. I think there was actually a video where they described this in detail, things that you can actually attempt to fact check in some level of detail and with some level of reasonable veracity, so to speak. So you got some of this here. Then you got that night after. Because a lot of the stuff that was bad didn't really happen on June 3rd or 4th necessarily. It happened as you get into the early morning of June 5th. I think that's when things were really getting freaking ugly. That's like the impression I got from that. And don't quote me on that. Do your own research. Although I would say when you do your own research, don't necessarily trust the research that says nothing happened. You know? I have a guy at work, and he makes up shit. He makes up stuff like to make his life interesting. It's really kind of sad. Nice enough guy. He knows about some technical stuff, which I appreciate. But he makes up stuff to, like, I guess make his life interesting. He'll be like, oh, I did this, and oh, I gotta scroll. Hey, that's weird. My chat isn't updated. Hang on. I got 2 chat windows, and one of them is not the same as the other, I don't think. Oh, here we are. You know, we have a literal CCP representative posting their propaganda on these posts, right? Actual Chinese agents. Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I bet you I replied to one. That's why when I posted my reply, I was a little concerned I got myself onto a list, but not really planning on flying. I'm not planning to fly to mainland China anyway. If I did, I would respect, the rules, you know what I mean? Like, if I went to China, I wouldn't be going around trying to rabble rouse people. I'd keep to myself, mind my own business, do the tourist things, so to speak. It's not my place to shake things up at someone else's, home, so to speak, right? At least while I'm visiting. Once I'm out not visiting, that's kind of like, my prerogative, in my opinion, right? GGG ASMR. Ooh, I like it. Yo, Game Gear Goddess could do ASMR with the gamepad, right? Maybe we could do this. Like, you could be like, hey there, guys. I don't know. I didn't mean to put on a squeaky voice. I know it's not accurate. In fact, today you were silent today. You were wearing a mask, which you couldn't speak through, and your wearing the mask reminded me of my protocol. So back in 2020, they made us wear masks at work. I don't know if I said it out loud. And I had a fake mask. It looked like a freaking Victoria's Secret piece of underwear. It was really just a net shaped like a mask. But I did it because I really don't like wearing a wet rag for 12 hours, especially when I'm sitting alone at my desk and there's nobody within 30 feet of me. It's like, I'm not going to sit here wearing a mask for 12 hours. I'm sorry, a damp rag. Anyway, that's enough of this story. So anyway, I believe Wade had a question. You could ask me a question, but it sounds ominous when you say that. Can I ask you a question? It's like, am I in trouble? Or is it going to be something heavy and deep, like where I'm put on a spot where it's like, do you love me? Answer yes or no now. By the way, I am going to jump off a building if you say no. I'm kidding. I have Wednesdays through Saturdays off. Or, Saturday I'm always depressed because I got work on Sunday. Yeah, no, it's my weekend. They're putting their hands up. Okay, you know what? I changed my mind. I am against these protesters. These are rabble rousers because they are literal freaking Yahtzees. Look at this. They got their hand up. This can only mean one thing. They are neo-Nazis in China. I'm kidding, of course. They actually look like they're doing a peace sign, I think. I think they're doing a peace sign, yeah. All right. I can't really tell what they're doing with their hands, but it kind of looks like a peace sign. Either that or they're Boy Scouts. Maybe they're doing this. Okay, so anyway, at 4 a.m. on June 4th, 1989, okay, so maybe I stand correct, maybe some of this stuff ramped up earlier. Students gathered under the monument to sing the international song. What international song? I guess they must have an international song. Oh my God! I just saw what's that? You guys know about pareidolia? I know it's like stupid. I shouldn't be sidebarring like this when we're talking about such a serious topic. But yo, we got pareidolia right over here. Okay, if you guys can't see it, I'm going to zoom in on this. This is wild. Okay. Okay, so I swear to God, I see like a fat woman or a fat bearded guy right over here. I don't think it's a person at all, or maybe the image is just like, oh, I see what happened. The photo got ripped up a little bit. Okay, so there may be a real person who's not ugly there, but it kind of looks like like a potato head. You know what I mean? Like, it don't look like a guy. Let me see if we can zoom in on it. See, like that one right there. Like, so most likely it's got something to do with the way the paper's been damaged and ripped. Yeah, it's probably a guy's face in the middle of that rip. Yeah, that's what it is. That's a rip. The white over here is a ripped out piece, and the white over here is a ripped out piece. And you can see it's related to all of this damage over here. So, no. There's not a fat American man or a fat American lady there. Nor is there Mr. Potato Head there. That is just a piece of someone's photographed face. Okay, that's a shame because I was really hoping there was like going to be like a Walmart. I was hoping it'd be one of those people who ride the scooters in Walmart. That I think didn't Orc mention that on L's show last week. Anyway, and then let's see, this poor guy here's got like the head bandage, which seems like he's in better straits, but I mean he's alive. Don't know where he's going right now. Chinese soldiers arrested people on the streets. Oh, yeah, and there's a mixed bag. Some of the people injured might not have been protesters. And so at that point, it just became, I think it was like to send a message. I'm not really sure if that was all. I mean, sure, clearly they want to quell the protest. But also it appears that, part of that is sending the message that we won't take any bullshit. In an authoritarian regime, that's the sort of thing you might do. Okay, so there's the trucks that were either partially burned, I guess, the tires are ruined, maybe they got shot, maybe someone punctured the tire, I don't know. Here we are. Here's some actual troop transports. You get the canvas backing on them. There's actually a picture coming up where it looks like a soldier was burned next to a bus, but there's a little Oh, that's funny. I got a funny video for you guys. Okay, so it's totally unrelated to Tiananmen, but it's cool. It's a great video. I think you guys need to see it. What is this guy doing? He's trying to steal the steering wheel? All right, anyway. I know I shouldn't be making humor, but I tell you, man, like, it broke my heart watching this guy here. Like, it may not, like, look like it right now because I got very good control over my emotions. But watching this guy fucked me up, let me tell you. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. Because, like, once again, I'll play him one more time. It's like, it's just, like... He's got the bright-eyed enthusiasm. He's got good energy. And he's like, it's just like, oh, I'm going to march. Why? Because it's my duty. And it's like, shit. And there's actually some beautiful pictures, art based on that. I bet you it comes up in the recommended pictures in the background here. And if it doesn't, you Google it, and basically this one, you don't call him Bicycle Man. You Google him as It's My Duty. And if you do that, it'll come up. And so let's see, Tiananmen Square, I can't even spell it. Square, It's My Duty. Yeah, here we are. And there's actually different versions of this picture. So this one's a smartphone wallpaper, and this one's not a smartphone wallpaper. So I'm going to click on the non-smartphone wallpaper. But, it's like just some peaceful doves. I think this one fucks me up emotionally more. See, same guy. And it's like, he has all this hope. And... it's like, it's going to get smashed. Or, not him personally, although I hope he, fucking, someone pulled him aside and was like, hey, buddy, stay in the back of the crowd, or something. I hope he got lucky. I hope he's one of the lucky ones. I don't know if he ever surfaced, or if he kept a low profile, which would be the logical thing to do. That makes sense. Oh, by the way, here's a random side note. Apparently, the Crocs you buy might have these chemicals called phthalates, P-T-H-A-L-A-T-E-S. And apparently they are in significant quantities to potentially affect reproductive stuff and hormones. So could it be on purpose, or could it just be using cheap plastics? Probably just manufacturers using cheap plastics. But I could definitely see the conspiratorial, nefarious speculation in regard to the reasoning behind that, And basically the recommendation was only buy sandals that are made by some expensive company. I mean, that's not exactly what they said, but that's basically what the news report said. So, I mean, my thing is I'm not necessarily worried about things like lead. I want to buy a bucket of mercury. If anyone's selling any mercury, let me know. I want to play with mercury. I'll put my hand in it. I'll put on gloves just to appease people who say it's bad. But realistically, you can touch mercury. It's not going to go to your brain the first time you touch it. Yeah, you probably don't want to, work around mercury as a vapor. So, for example, lighthouses. They used to have like a mercury bearing because mercury can conduct electricity. So if you put a light bulb on top of the mercury, I guess you can maintain the electrical circuit while it's floating on the mercury. Or they might have just done it because it was convenient. I don't know. But having a hot light bulb on top of mercury kind of makes some of it go into the air. And it might be why lighthouse keepers were crazy. Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw your DM message. I actually looked at your DM message today. Earlier today. I did wait. I actually read some messages. I'm not even kidding. It's crazy. I went to a backlog of messages. Who's got a beautiful voice? It better be hot. Actually, that's a beautiful voice. Oh my god, guys, the volume was really low last time I played the video of the Chinese guy on the bike. Hold on. We must play it again. You must hear this man's enthusiasm.
Doing too much. Can't answer clear. Why? Why? I think this is my duty.
I paused it real quick because somebody put like this really suspicious violin at the end of this video where it goes dunk. It's like sounding like a horror movie. I'm like, I don't need to hear that. Like it's apt, but I don't need to hear it. And then in 2022, it's just showing you kids in like Hong Kong or Taiwan or some shit, and they're saying it's my duty, which is good. I'm glad they remember that. You know, it's that's cool. You know. We'll wrap up soon, but I think we'll do a couple of things more. So mostly we're kind of just talking today. I appreciate you guys being a sounding board. If you guys have any thoughts to add, please let me know. Move to my head. Is that a jet fighter? Oh, helicopters. I wonder how they time these. I guess they have the helicopters hang out back there and then they just tell them on the radio when to come. It's got to be way harder to get that right with a jet fighter. Like when they do that, when they get like a couple F-18s or F-16s that do their thing, that's always like a good, thing to do, Excuse my yawning, guys. So, yeah, do we see these pictures already? I think we saw all these pictures already. Yeah, oh god. Okay, yeah. Okay, sorry about that. I'm gonna bookmark that and save that for, I don't even know. Well, it's good just to have these pictures. In fact, I plan on saving all of the pictures. I think I got a lot of them already. I think these are new pictures. Do we see these pictures yet? I feel like we haven't seen these pictures yet. So, you got some people burning the tanks and damaging the artillery. I mean, imagine if they had an armed populace. So I never really like when people say, oh, the Second Amendment is so that if the government gets tyrannical, we can go against them. I'm not really in favor of like violence against the government in a conventional sense, but there is a value to having an armed populace where the government at least thinks twice about pulling any bullshit. It's not like, honestly, like you already have a real big problem if you get into the point where you have to, or people have to take arms on the government. The point is to prevent that. Just having an armed populace is supposed to, facilitate that. And that may, of course, when the country was founded, there's other reasons you had firearms, like hunting and the way the continent worked. And you could even say in China, the way they developed firearms weren't a thing, so it's not like, you can't necessarily apply what works for us to them. But despite the fact that you can't necessarily apply our values to China, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that if they had an armed populace, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Maybe things would have been, addressed long before it got to the point where people sort of need to protest. And of course, they had hundreds of thousands of students protesting, and it was actually more than one city. There wasn't, I guess the coordination wasn't, on one angle to get all those people to show up in one place before social media. That's pretty amazing on one angle, but that's universities for you, back then. it would have been a place where people would have congregated, right? You know, where groups would have, after school clubs, so to speak, would have then, relayed, got the word out. But they didn't necessarily have a structured communication network across cities. And who knows if you can make a phone call from one city to another city during these events. Although there was a CNN correspondent who did, keep an open phone line from a hotel window. And that was the thing. So there was some kind of event, I forget, some big global meeting or some bullshit like that. And there were a lot of journalists in the country, and this was an opportunity. So they did seize upon an opportunity, but I think they didn't anticipate that the government, would still do whatever the fuck they wanted. They thought that the government would at least try to pretend to be nice or something because of all of the media attention. But, they apparently decided to just, go to a 11 out of 10 on a 1 to 10 scale, or I guess 11 on a 1 to 10, an 11 on a 1 to 10 scale. And see those barriers there? Apparently they still use them. I saw pictures of the consulate the other day, like today, and they were using the same metal barriers. And it's kind of funny. There's a picture of people pushing the barriers over, and I'm like, I wonder if they're using the same barriers from 30 years ago, or if they just keep mass producing the same barriers. Maybe that's a standard design they use, I don't know, just kind of random, thing. So this is something I would use Google Translate to translate. Not this, but the actual picture. So we're going to do that. Yan posted a statement of withdrawal from the party in Peking University. Okay, so I don't need to read that, I guess. I mean, we could. More peace. So is that the army? Or are those just people wearing green? Oh, yeah, it's pretty cool. Look at that. A front-end loader. So either they stole it or they had some support from people, in construction. Several people were paraded in the square on a bulldozer. That's not a bulldozer. That's a front-end loader. I mean, I'm being picky here, but it's the same shit. I get it. He's alive. He's just sleeping, right? Yeah. So this is, I think these are the first soldiers to show up. These were the local soldiers who were just there. You know what I mean? Like they weren't trying to do anything bad. These were the good guys, so to speak, or at least the local guys who had yet to be told anything. They weren't told any lies. They weren't told, oh, there's violent protesters. They kind of knew they weren't violent protesters because they were there. Soldiers and students sat down. So this is like an example. This was the mindset back then that people in the army, were for each other. It was good to be in the army. I mean, it's a good job. It is a good job to have. And in China, believe it or not, they don't have a draft. Apparently, you can't feed that many soldiers if they had a draft. So it's not, they don't have mandatory conscription from what I understand. And then this is the, paper mache statue. It's really larger than I thought it was. Pretty large. I didn't know it was that big. Statue of Democracy. Okay, so yeah, there's our goddess of democracy or goddess of liberty. Yeah, so it goes by two names. Now, at some point, I got to look into that and figure out, is it the goddess of democracy, statue of democracy, goddess of liberty, or what? And I'm going to guess it's the goddess of liberty, considering we got a guy over here holding up a sign saying liberty right after that. So, approximate the context. So anyway, yeah, there's our picture slideshow of the Tiananmen Square protests and subsequent massacre. I hope you guys found that informative or educational. So is there anything you guys want to see in space before we wrap up, huh? Awesome one, Kaboom. Yes, Kaboom is right. I'm not a Moonie now. I've always been a Moonie. Actually, I got a recap on a lot of it. I'm sort of a Moonie, but not exactly. You know what I mean? I'm like in between. I'm like a poser. Yeah, I'm a poser. I'm a poser. Poser. We're going to turn the chat back on now that we don't have anything bad on screen. I turned the chat off just so that you guys wouldn't be on the same picture. Actually, I did that a while ago. Actually, I stopped paying attention to that. But anyway, I do want to once again thank Troy Petrelli and Netta for tuning in first. And I'm sorry that we did start on a heavy topic today. Well, we didn't start on a heavy topic. I did I did ease into it. I did carefully ease into it. Last minute stream, but I did ease into the topic. Oh, it's not funny, but you know what I mean. It's ironic, I guess. We're going to put the chat down here. I'm going to shrink it a lot. Then I'm going to click on this box here. Oh, God. Sorry, I always... Oh, there it is. Okay, there we go. Okay, good. We got it. I'm going to put the chat over here where nobody can read it. But dang. Oh, yeah, so the thing I was working on recently. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so we press F4. We go to the camera. Maybe someone can give me some advice on something here, like how to do a better job of what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to open up the camera path editor, and then I'll show you what I'm trying to do. And maybe, just maybe I can outsource my decision making a little bit, you know? Okay, so there's our camera path. And we're going to pick a very low video frame rate. We're going to do like, I don't know. We're going to do something like really bad, like 15 frames a second. We're not really going to record that. I just want to show the settings. So now I'm going to click play, pause, and I'm going to show you what I did. So basically, I was trying to fly through the Milky Way like this. But to do that, okay, so I'm going to stop here. I'm going to rewind. I'm going to use, and I can do this. I can move my speed. I can scroll up, and I can go all the way back here like this. And it's a crap ton of stars. And we're only 896 light years away from Earth right now. Now we're 1,000 light years. Now we're 14,000 light years. Now we're 20,000 light years. Now we're 30,000 light years. Now we're almost 40,000 light years. When does it end? 50,000, 60,000, 70,000. Now I'm fast forwarding speed a lot. And at some point, we're going to see the following. Isn't there like another button? There is a button. Oh, crap. Uh-oh. Did I lose my... I wasn't supposed to pan. I got to go back here now. It's critical I start here. There's a reason I loaded that up. Okay, so now we're going to click stop. Okay, there we go. So there's the galaxy, and we can rotate it any which way we want. But the goal is to have a continuous video clip where we fly into the Milky Way, but I have to control the speed. And I have to do it in a very, like, you know, like smooth manner. And so as you get closer to Earth, what you would do is you slow down. So what I do is I use space flight mode. So I'll show you what that looks like. So space flight mode is, instead of me doing this, we switch to mode. And now when it moves, it's going to glide. But you can also do this. You could slow yourself down. So right now, if I press back, you can see my velocity is going down, but it's not going down. Oh, we just went past the Earth. So now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go, okay, let's try it again. So I go back and I say, okay, we got to do move forward. We're moving 200 light years a second. And you can see how slowly the galaxy moves, but 200 light years a second is too fast. And apparently, I don't even know, maybe there's a button, maybe I should just read the freaking manual. But essentially the goal is to slow down our speed before we get like to an uncontrollable speed. So right here, we can see we're moving in, we're moving in, we're moving in. At this point, rotation shouldn't matter. Oh, that does look cool. That does look kind of slick. I might actually want to look into doing something cool like that. Making it rotate as we're going in. That would be interesting. Now, I'm trying to make it into a longer clip. You know, I'm trying to string it together or mix it with something. And now we're going into the spiral arm now. Before we do that, oh, crap. We're going to overshoot it again. Oh, and see, this is what happens if you... So, maybe there's a button that moves us at 0 miles an hour. And I just got to find out what button that is, because I don't really want to be bobbing back and forth. But let's pause here for a second, because I want to show you something. We're going to crank up our exposure. So, there we go. So, I turn on the Gaia star catalog. It shows us 1 million stars. And so the idea is that as we get closer to them, we can see more of them. And it's almost artificially dense, but these are real stars. Like, there are no fake stars here. Like, I only have real stars enabled right now. And so maybe to see the spiral arm of the Milky Way, we can do this. We can crank up the exposure setting instead. because it is instructive on an unrelated note. We do reside in that spiral arm of the Milky Way, right? You can see, like, that's us. And they actually say we're on the Cygnus spur or the Sagittarius spur. So we are actually on the Orion arm. What is it? The Orion spur of the Sagittarius arm. I got to look that up. But real quick, let's see what the chat says. After bike. There we go. I showed you a video and I put the volume up. You need to watch the end. I did watch the end. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Okay, good. We're on the same page. Yeah, that was pretty cool, Wade. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, yo, Real Wade Nation, you have a good night. I'll try my best to tune in and or visit and or appear on the stream. And that's the channel, Real Wade Gaming Nation. Real. He keeps it real. That's a Dave Chappelle reference. If anybody knows the Dave Chappelle reference, you know, where, what's her name? There's a African-American woman, and she's like hardcore. And she keeps saying to her friends, I keeps it real. So then, like, one day, her boyfriend is like banging some girl. So she goes to the house of that girl to bash her car because, you know, she keeps it real. Like, she literally keeps saying it. I keeps it real. So she destroys this car. But unbeknownst to her, and it's like the narrator on Dave Chappelle, that girl who is banging her boyfriend is actually the sibling of a federal agent. And of course, damaging or vandalizing a federal agent's vehicle is like a super big deal. So she goes to jail. And of course, now she's in jail and she's doing it again. She's like, I keeps it real. And, you know, it just gets worse. I heard Modern Times. Okay, so back on the topic we were on before. And I appreciate you guys tolerating my my undiagnosed ADD bouncing from topic to topic. I believe that on one angle, you know, like I said, I don't want to make the whole stream about the heavy topic, right? And also I want to mask it a little bit. You know, I want to hide it in between the lines. Notice that I thought about making the video thumbnail about it. I thought about making a black thumbnail. One, because it would be easier, but I didn't want to take advantage of a massacre and pretend that I was doing it for a good reason. Because the truth is, if I had a blank thumbnail tonight, I'd be lying if I said it was purely because of me commemorating the events of that day. But at the same time, it would be a clever idea, you know, just a black thumbnail, no work for me, but it actually works because I think like there was a time where CNN was blacked out in China on the day of the Tiananmen Square massacre. So that's why it works so well, you know? Oh, sorry, I was moving my batteries. I heard in modern times, Chinese soldiers are paid so well, they buy super expensive bows and use them as part of their standard equipment just cause they like them. Wow, that's so weird. I wonder. Let's see if we can find a picture. Like a bow is a bow and arrow, right? Oh yeah, they still use crossbows apparently. Honestly, like I think like with the Tiananmen Square massacre, they didn't even give the soldiers ammunition until like right before. And I mean, like, I guess it is standard. Even we do that with our soldiers to some extent. But I believe that any soldier who you trust to have a gun in their hand is indeed, you know, is indeed allowed to, you know, carry ammunition. You know, it's like that's what they do, you know. But in China, it sounded to me that they don't distribute ammunition until the last possible minute or until they know. And I'm sure over there it's accepted as normal policy. I'm sure nobody sees it as like a problem. But I can see what a crossbow might have some appeal at different echelons, you know? I mean, if you have soldiers that form an insurrection and they have crossbows, you can always send guys with guns to go up against them. But at the same time, soldiers with crossbows are still going to be effective against people or otherwise, right? Enemies, foreign and domestic, as we say. So, yeah, this is an Indian soldier receiving the Red Book of Mao, I think. Or it looks like a Red Book of Mao. It might not be the Red Book of Mao. It might just be like a medal or some commemorative crap. But, yeah. Sucks to be them. Huh. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I wasn't showing the right screen. I'm sorry, I was showing you the Enterprise. My VTuber background for when I do Star Trek. I gotta check I think I got a message from Pacific 414. Anyway. And I think there is somebody who's on right now. Yep, literally a bow and arrow. All right, so that's confirmed. So yeah, I don't know. I'm probably gonna, after this stream is over, I'm gonna be sitting here putzing around with this, right? And the other thing I got to do tonight is I gotta actually, I re-encoded some episodes of the Babylon 5 spin-off Crusade, and I did it with like new settings that I've never used before, and I have to like basically stack these in DaVinci Resolve and see how they compare to one another. And the fish tank water cooling system does work. The only issue with this, sorry for that little infinite loop, with the fish tank water cooler is I can't think in Celsius. Like, I just can't do it. Like, I could kind of do it. But, like, today, I thought it was, like, really, I was like, oh, it's only 70 degrees? That's amazing. I was like, oh, no, it's Celsius, not Fahrenheit. But right now, you can see I'm at 4.9 gigahertz, so I reinstituted the overclock. And I got a pretty stable overclock going, too. And it doesn't really use more than 150 watts, so that's pretty healthy. We got temperatures here that are pretty tame right now, but the minute I run the video encoder, which apparently already finished, I guess it finished while I wasn't paying attention. Oh, wow. This was running when I started the show. This was actually running a half hour ago, so yeah, that was running the whole time in the background. But it's a great way, if you want to test out how hot the computer can get, you would basically use this. And so if I go here and I run this encoding job up here, you're going to see all the temperatures turn orange. Or not. In this case, you can see it says crashed. So I guess something about that particular encoding job makes it not run. So I'm not going to touch that right now because that's a whole other topic. But take my word for it. It does get toasty, but I've been able to get temperatures to stay like just shy of 180. And so it's a balancing act. I'm still exploring it. I know at some point I got to take a picture of the water thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this space up a little bit more. So it's a neat area where I can take a nice picture of it. No, you didn't miss the fish tank. I was just talking about that. I was literally talking about that. I got to clean up the space over there. I know I said that a week ago, but hear me out. Hear me out. Then while I'm there, I'm going to drain some of the water out. I'm going to scrub the tank a little bit with Comet. And then I'm going to re-add water to it. But I'm also going to buy a jug of bleach. Because I already put a little bit of bleach in the thing, but I want to add more bleach. I don't really think I want to have standing water in this room that I constantly heat, right? So I think the heat exchanger needs to have bleach in the water. And on the inside, I have a bottle here somewhere of what do you call it? Antimicrobial crap. It goes in the loop. So I actually at some point have to bleed the loop. I have to actually unhook the water block, or at least unhook the tubing from the CPU water block, or somehow get at it from outside without opening the water block. Because there's like some black stuff in there. It's not mold. It's from when I first installed it. So the thing is, the plastic tubing is fine. But the copper tubing, I don't know, some black dirt inside of it. And it doesn't look like mold, but it sticks to the plate on the CPU water block. So you see it through the transparent plastic. So it looks like perfectly shiny copper, except for this one like black stuff. And it looks like something I could easily just get at by shooting a water gun at it or putting a pipe cleaner in there, etc. But yeah, Slim Nim, what you missed today was the Tiananmen Square massacre. We talked a little bit about the Tiananmen Square massacre. Then I showed an internet comment that I replied to on Twitter, and this was hilarious. It was sad and hilarious at the same time. It was hilarious because this guy is trying to claim that the Summer of Love riots, where an NYPD police car slowly ran over a group of protesters, is the same thing, or is actually worse than the Tiananmen Square massacre. And the reason that he was able to claim that is because, well, you know, he's showing a video of the tank. I'm not using distilled water, Slim Nim. Trust me, AI told me to use distilled water, but the problem is that if I use distilled water, the dirty copper pipe would have still been the problem. Like I said, I didn't rinse the copper pipe. That was the problem. I did not rinse the copper pipe. I should have done that. I rinsed the flexible tubing, but I didn't rinse the copper pipe. I don't know why. I should have done that. It would have taken me like a minute. And then I wouldn't have that black stuff in there. But as far as like, I don't see any evidence of slime or fouling in the water. But that's the point of the, that's why you use the, what's the word? It's not called an it's got a name. Oh, it's got a fancy name. It's not really a fancy name, but there's a name for this stuff. Oh, It's not antifreeze. Antimicrobial, antimicrobe, microbe killer. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it right now. It has like a cool name too. It's like, what do you call this shit? Additive, biocide. That's it. Yeah, it's a biocide. And it basically, its job is like to do what you're supposed to do is buy distilled water and add the biocide to it. But the reason I shot down the idea of distilled water, you're not wrong, Slim Nim. Let me be clear here. You're not wrong. But the reason I don't need distilled water, or the reason I believe I don't need distilled water, and the logic seems to check out, is because New York tap water is just that good. It is. It's a pretty good tap water. The only flaw is the fluoridation. And, of course, many would argue that that's a good thing, too. But overall, New York tap water is generally pretty good. Like, you could drink it, you could shower in it, you could do both. Some people still drink bottled water, which blows my fucking mind. Like, it's like, dude, the water's fine. Poland Spring in a plastic bottle can't really be any better. Yes, I know I have bottled water here. I refill this every friggin' day or every hour. Whenever I finish it, I add more New York tap water to this. And of course, there is a point where, either you got to sterilize the top part here or give it a good rinse or just clean it with soapy water. Give it a good cleaning, right? Because it will get nasty throughout the summer. If you don't, the water won't get nasty, but it's still a breeding ground for microbes. So, logically, that's how I do it. And I got to work on that. I keep having the green tape rolling off my wall. Oh, that's why. I had to punch a fly. Okay, whatever. We're just going to have... There we go. So, yeah, that's the logic, Slim Nim. Part of my tidying up in the corner over there. So, once I do that, because like the way I see it, once I clean that space up, once I replace some of the water and add more bleach to it, it'll look presentable. Right now, it looks, actually, let me see. The lights were out, so it looked kind of dark. Oh, I'm in my, yeah, it doesn't look that bad. It looks a little bit dark. It's got a little bit of algae on the surface of the water, so that's why I definitely know I want to drain it and then clean it with Comet. And then I'm not going to clean it super thoroughly because the way I see it, like I just need to scrub it, get the loose matter to float, vacuum the loose matter out of the tank, then put new water in there along with bleach, and then I think I'm good to go after that, right? And at that point, I can decide if I want to put a proper lid on top and whether or not I want to put fans on top of that water, or if I want to contain everything. Do I want to literally contain it? Like, or is there a method of, well, it gets a little complicated. It sounds like, if I wanted to transfer the heat from the tank somewhere else, like outside, I would just be better off probably getting a radiator, right? And hooking that up to the computer and hanging that outside. So what this is doing is it's allowing me to do an experiment. It's allowing me to understand how water pumping works. I mean, yes, we know the principles, right? But the reality is you don't really know until you try it, or unless you're a plumber. I'm not a plumber. My grandpa was a plumber. I was not a plumber. I've never met my grandpa, but he was, an Italian from Brooklyn who served in World War II on an LST ship. That's a landing ship tank. It's a ship that has a ramp on the front, and they can deploy, vehicles and trucks. They could even have trucks on there sometimes, and they can have Jeeps on there, and they can, basically, have them rolling right off the boat. And, of course, just all of the supplies you would need for taking a Pacific island or doing any number of things that you would do in a military combat operation, including transporting troops, in some cases, or their material, material and troops. Material, troops, and vehicles. I believe they even had the LVT1s rolling off of LSTs. Let's see if we can find a picture of that. LVT1 LST. So I was reading a book about the LVT1 Alligator, and this is a landing vehicle tracked. They also called them Amtraks back in the day because I don't know, that's what they call them. You see, this Amtrak here carried a Jeep. Oh, wow, I never seen this variant before. That's kind of cool. And we see this in the movie review we did when we did Letters from Iwo Jima. We see this. We actually see these in the scene when the beach is getting, when they're loading the beachhead. That looks like one of those build your own bridge type dealers there. I'm not really sure what that is. Here's another one. These actually look like a little bit extended too. Like, maybe they were always this big. They have one in Florida now. The company that built them out of Florida, someone, I guess, got their hands on one that was in good condition, and they put it outside some building, like the local city council funded it. It might have been a vehicle. I think it was one looking much like the one we see here. But these are just kind of cool vehicles. Now, they did have some mechanical issues, but the reality is, what would you be surprised? The thing was in salt water. Of course it had mechanical issues. Like, you drove it in salt water. Did you hose it down when you were done? If not, then, yeah, of course you're going to have mechanical issues. So, the fact is that these things, when we did the Battle of Saipan, the Japanese on that island, when they saw these things, they were kind of awestruck that these vehicles could roll right over the coral reefs. They thought the coral reef would, like, rip the bottom of a ship out of the way, and it would. But not when you have these. And so, at the time, I think these were almost brand new for the Battle of Saipan, so they probably were all in really good condition. But by the time you get to Iwo Jima, yeah, I'm sure they had quite a bit of battlefield mileage on them. And, battlefield mileage is not the most graceful mileage. So anyway, vacuum seal. That sounded interesting. And what's up, Fabric Phone? It's good to see you, buddy. I know, right? Oh, I stayed up even later. Today sucked. So I couldn't sleep last night for some reason. I had like a headache, and it was hot. So then after like watching Game Gear Goddess and Ella's show, after watching Game Gear Goddess, I tried to sleep, couldn't. Then I watched Ella's show. Then I went to sleep properly. Or like not properly, because now it was really late. And it's like I was up early. I had breakfast at a semi-normal time. I did all these things, and I was fine. But like, I still got to work on something, like work related. But I'm probably gonna do it later or tomorrow because this is my recreational time after this, right? So maybe I'll do a little bit of work and play. But I'm kind of thinking I just push the work to tomorrow. Maybe while I'm tuning into LCX's show tomorrow. That's when I will do it, Do I have L programmed into my thing, or do I have to, like, type in her link? I don't have to type in your link. I can just click on your name and do it. But, L was here earlier. But it's good to see Game Gear Goddess. Game Gear Goddess is cool, too. Space Harrier, like I said, I didn't play the arcade game you mentioned, but I played the Genesis version of Space Harrier, too. And, like, it was a guy. I thought a Harrier was a jet. But apparently it's anything that floats vertically. So let's keep rolling. So yeah, Fabric Phones. Were you here earlier when we talked about Tiananmen Square protests? Look at this. The protests in New York were way worse than Tiananmen Square. Look at this. Look at this, Fabric Phones. I don't mean to be singling you out, but I just want to make sure you see this because I think it's very important you understand how bad of a country we have, how evil we are compared to the kind, warm, caring embrace of the Chinese Communist Party. And how, Xi Jinping is just showing tough love at times. Actually, okay, this has nothing to do with Xi Jinping, but, well, it does in a way. But anyway, let's just show the video. So like I said, this was posted by a Chinese guy in response to a Tiananmen Square remembrance. So this, like, basically it's the anniversary. Yesterday and today and the day before, like the anniversary days, I would say. Because even though the 4th is the anniversary, you got to remember there's the time zone difference. But also you got to remember that it wasn't all over as soon as the 4th was over, so to speak, right? A lot of interesting... Oh, God. Okay, so I didn't mean to show you that. But I meant to show it to the other guy. So anyway, so here goes. I put the sound on. The sound is very important. Okay, so watch when this police car, SUV, gets close to the protesters. Listen to the sound it makes. Ah, you remember watching it on CNN? You mean back when they were more reputable? I mean, look, the media agencies weren't, were always had their ulterior motives, I'm sure. But watching the BBC reporter, she seemed to be able to just call out the facts without inserting anything else, just saying this is what happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. I can respect that. The CNN coverage, the fact that it brought that coverage to our airwaves, or more accurately, to our cable TV lines, it mattered. That was important news to be broadcasting, right? And I talked about this ad nauseum early in the stream. Like, there was a little disorganized my thoughts were, but it was a big media event that week, so the protesters knew there was an opportunity to be seen by the world. They thought the government would actually listen to them because, why would the government crack down while everyone's watching? So, listen to the police car. So, apparently, I'm to believe that a police car going at like 5 miles an hour makes all these loud thumping sounds as it slowly pushes the people out of the way. Like, the people are being dragged, and they're stupid for being there, and you're not supposed to ram through people, but it is true that you should indeed continue to drive. If you have a crowd of people surrounding your car, move slowly, but keep moving. Do not stop. Like, just a good safety measure. You know what I mean? Whoa. James Earl Jones did the voiceovers back then? Jesus. That is cool. I can't even say his voice. I used to watch him do the 9X commercials, the Bell Atlantic commercials, New York Telephone. It was New York Telephone, and then it became 9X. And then 9X became, shit. Well, it did become shit too as well. But it also became, what was it? Bell Atlantic. And then James Earl Jones would do a commercial. He goes, 9X and Bell Atlantic are the same thing. And then after that, it was, a Verizon commercial. So bottom line is that, this guy's trying to claim that the picture at the bottom shows that the tank didn't run the guy over. They even allowed the guy to climb the tank, and nothing happened to the tank man. But in this case here, these people are peacefully protesting in our great country, and our evil, government and our evil police are running these people over indiscriminately. And I guess that settles it, right? Nothing bad happened in Tiananmen Square on June 3rd, 4th, or 5th. Mainly the 4th and the 5th, from what I can figure. But anyway, so what I did was close your eyes, everybody, if you don't want to see blood. I'm just going to show you, like, the top part of the tank. So see that tank track? That's blood. You want to see what was under it? All right, this is the part. I'm giving you one. I'm going to show the picture in 3, 2, 1. Showing picture now. Right? That's someone's guts right over there, or remains, whatever the fuck that is. There's something of a human being that once was. And then, okay, blood warning over. You guys can look at the screen again. So, anyway, so that was my response to this jerk off. I might be on some kind of list now, but I don't give a fuck. Guy needs to see it. If he really, obviously the person posting this is being disingenuous. I don't think, they believe it per se. I mean, they might believe it to an extent. It's like the recent debacle, right? Like Elon acting like having a temper tantrum. If I really wanted to, I could have like my own bullshit. I could say, oh, they're just putting on an act to look like they're hey, hang on, wait. The Google speaker is blinking. Oh, hey Google, stop alarm. Okay, good. It was just an alarm I set like at the wrong time apparently. I set an alarm for the AM instead of PM. Okay, so anyway. Wow, I don't doubt it. Yeah, I bet. So in the country in the Pacific Rim, another country, a more free country. I don't know if I should say the country out loud. I know 2 names, but yes. So a police car, quoting Game Gear Goddess, did actually run over people indiscriminately over here during the Great Plague era of 2019. Yeah, right? Both days. And real quick, so he has interesting fabric forwards about James Earl Jones. He used to say, CNN, the most trusted name in news. Who knew that they would be, that they would both serve the empire? That's funny. Because, he's like, they did it. They both served the empire, right? He was the voice of Darth Vader. That's a good one. So anyway, that's what we did earlier. You know, I know a very roundabout explanation there, but that's what we did earlier. Fabric Forge. We talked a bit about Tiananmen Square. I described pictures I saw. I posted a link somewhere up here. Yeah, it's still up here if you scroll up high enough, I think. I'll find you the link if you want it. Copy link address. Hope this works. Yeah, that was the link I posted. Oh wait, now it's too long, the link. Okay, so I gotta open it in a new browser. Control C, Control W, Control V, enter. Okay, there you go. So just in case anyone's curious, you know, it's got some gruesome pictures, but you know, the other thing I mentioned earlier was the Mandela effect. How people were claiming that they saw what happened, that nobody got ran over by a tank, and other people say, "Oh, I totally saw that guy get ran over by a tank." But it's like none of these people in the Mandela effect subreddit think to consider just maybe they saw two different videos, you know? Like, I swear, like, that's the fucking thing. Let's go read some Mandela effect before we wrap this up, okay? Because it's hilariously sad. Look, here's another picture here. These are pictures of bodies in the street. Just bodies, bicycles and bodies. And apparently, like, people, wherever they parked their bicycles, he had a shit ton of abandoned bikes. Oh, and this beautiful man. I played this video already, like, 4 times. But it's beautiful. Because, like, it breaks my fucking heart to watch this guy. In fact, yeah, I have this version of the video. I have like 2 versions. Apparently, we have 3 versions of the video now. But it's just like, I'll play it one last time. Or should I save it for the end of the stream? I'll play it.
Going too much. Can't answer fair. Why? Why? I think this is my duty.
So he's like saying, we're going to march at Tiananmen Square because it's my duty. And it just breaks my heart the first couple of times I watched it. Because, like, that's a random picture of my flag. Because, like, you know the guy's riding his bike into a fucking train wreck. You know what I mean? Like, that's, like, what fucks me up to look at it, you know? To think about his bright enthusiasm, his bright-eyed enthusiasm, and yet, oh, you want to go to the moon? We go to the moon. His bright-eyed enthusiasm, but yet, yeah, it's going to turn ugly. So, you know, we've had cops do some pretty ugly things. 40 to 60 miles an hour, Jesus. Yeah, that's pretty fast, Game Gear Goddess. And yeah, I know they went pretty draconian on the fucking coof too, right? Like they weren't quite China, but they, you know, your country seemed to have a bit of a zero tolerance thing about the coof as well as China did, you know? So are you hinting that you want to go to the moon? What's your name? Awesome one. I forgot your name for a second. I'm sorry. Because I want to do a galactic flight, and so I don't know if there's any advice here. I don't know if there's any advice that can be given. Like, I just want to do a cool flight, and then, you know, it's interesting because you can either fly in from above the galactic plane, but what I want is I want a smooth fly in, so I don't want to be manually controlling it. And I do want to do it from an angle, but when you do it like this, the problem is that right now it looks like we're going slow, but you have to lower your velocity pretty quickly. But, like, we're going 300,000 light years a second. Well, we're going 200 light years a second. I'm sorry. And look, if I slow down, oh, see, I go backwards now. But let's just say that we edit the video cleverly. Now we're moving only 23 light years a second. You got to remember that our nearest star is 5 light years away. So in order for us to fly through our own solar system, we have to slow down a lot. So right now we're like 1,000 light years away from Earth. So I'm going to try to do this really quickly. But I can sit here for hours dicking around with this and not get it right. Okay, so 300 light years away. Oh, see, and I'm trying to do this slick thing where I slow down just right. So right now we're going 6 light years a second, and we're rapidly counting down. And the problem is that even 1 light year can become a very long distance if you slow down too abruptly. So it's like really hard to get your speed just right. In fact, I already overshot the Earth. I already did. I already overshot the Earth. Okay, what? 70 light years, 20 light years, 10 light years, and gone. We just went past the Earth like in a second. We're going to try to go backwards now, real slow, and we're still going to overshoot it. So what does the chat say while I do that? Because it's going to take about 30 seconds. Oh, yep, there you saw the solar system. It came and went like nothing. We're going 2,000 AU a second. That's 2,000 Earth to the sun. See, that was again. See, like, did you even see it? Like, that's how fast we was going. We're going 2,000 Earth to suns in a second. We're going 0.1 light year, like, every half second right now. It's like blink, blink, blink. Actually, we're going 0.01 light year. Anyway, good night, Fabric Phones. Thank you very much for tuning in. You're right. I like the video where the guy says China is an asshole. That's funny. Been watching my friend stream Switch 2. Oh yeah, I gotta watch that. Well, I gotta watch. I gotta learn about. You know. We gotta like. I just want to see. Is it worth the stupid $700? You know, is it really worth it? Like, okay, it's got a 120 hertz display. It's got a better CPU. I know some people express complaints about the SD card, but I don't think that's really an issue because if you think about the SD card, it is a legitimate improvement. It is a SD Express card. That is definitely a different standard. You know what I mean? Like, that's a thing. And it is faster. And in a portable gaming device, if one place you want to have that, it would be in something like that. Hey, that's weird. My right clicker ain't working. I don't really care. We're gonna exit this anyway. But now it works. But yeah, like that's a sensible upgrade. It also means that you need new SD card readers, but you never take the SD card out of the Nintendo Switch unless you mod the Nintendo Switch. Which, if I bought a Switch 2, I would modify my Switch 1. And certainly by the time they shut down the App Store, I'm definitely buying a Switch. I'm sorry, modding my Switch. No doubt about it. By the way, is it gonna rain tonight? I might have to go outside and cover my telescope up. Thank you.
I'd play this with you.
So the graphics are disappointingly better. I mean, they look nice. Kind of looks the same. Can't really say I'm impressed. I know it's like I'm not giving a fair comparison here. I guess it looks better. I guess it looks better. I mean, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, it technically looks better, I guess. I mean, like, yeah, I guess there's more stuff in the background. I mean, like, the track is much more nicer than other Mario Kart games. I feel like there's actually a real environment. Like, you can go exploring, apparently. Is this what's going on? You can go to the side of the pier and do stuff? Like, what's going on here? Like, there's things on the side of the road now? Like, is this a race? Can you do, like, free open world Mario Kart now? Is this what's up? Is this like BeamNG meets Dirt Rally? Meets Pal World? Like, what's going on here? Is this like Pilot Wing 64 when you take the gyrocopter and you drive it on the ground? Because I totally did that. And why is that the guy? Oh, it's Mario. I thought it was Ness. I think there's a character named Ness. And I'm like, who's Ness? Oh, I just fought it. Oh, cool, we got a K-pop junkie. K-pop can be pretty good sometimes. Alright, so anyway, I think we're going to wrap this up. So you guys have a link to, to what's his face? To the young man you just saw here. You also have a link. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Troy Pichelli and Netta for tuning in earlier. It was just nice to see them. They just wrapped up their show and they tuned into me. Even though I didn't tune into them today, they tuned into me. So that's really nice of them. And they're both very sweet. You got Troy right over here. And his lovely wife, Netta. She's real cool. They're both really cool, but she's really sweet.
Yeah, no, it's pretty sick.
Let's see, that's him. Where's his wife? I could Google his wife. I'm gonna look up. I'm gonna type in. But basically, they both they often simulcast to each other's channels. Here's Miss Netta right over here. She's really cool. Yeah, she's nice. And sometimes she does like really good like videos like on organizing your socks, for example. Or she did a video on remodeling the bathroom, and that was pretty cool too. So yeah, good people. We also have Game Gear Goddess in the chat. She plays Game Gear. Well, she plays Sega Genesis too, I think. But I obviously she plays Game Gear.
Did you just show now that it's fixed?
And yeah, and I would actually say so. Look, or someone's saying, "Oh, I just shared your stream."
Who did you share?
They just watched you a bit, but I can't say. I can't say who. I don't want to say who watched it because if I say I was watching your stream, now I'm going to be promoting myself during my stream. I don't want to cannibalize his viewership. So here's what we're going to do. Is that the same guy who talks about sumo with Angela Curry? I think I've seen this guy before. I think I seen him talk about sumo with Angela Curry during the Kita Basho, the Basho. So let's get Aris. We're going to tune into Aris right now. So Aris's channel is Aris. 218.
Damn.
Oh, is it over? Don't be over. Okay, good. He's not over.
You know?
Good. We can raid Oris.
Yes, I do.
And as long as Slim Nim isn't streaming, we don't have to raid him. No, I'm kidding. We can raid Slim Nim, of course. But jokes aside, so Oris 218.
What about Japan?
But also don't forget that the link above that, that awesome one posted that says watched a few seconds here.
Can I drive?
Watch a few. Oh, were you telling me to watch a few seconds? How dare you? No, I'm kidding. Okay. But jokes aside, I read that as watched with a past tense, but it's actually a recommendation. Either way, I'm glad I watched it. I'm still watching it right now. I'm going to keep this next to Oris's stream.
Is space and
Here, wait, I'm going to do that right now. Now, where the heck is, and we, look, we got more pictures of tanks here. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's cool. It's like the bridge. We'll do this some other time, but I think we did this already. I think it's cool to look at that shit. You know what I mean? See? Oh, yeah. So some of these had to go straight into the water. Because they can, but if you don't get it just right, it'll sink.
I do want to get.
And that get pretty ugly. Like, you see how, like, if the water just goes over that side where the soldiers are sitting, you could have a bad day. And you could be sleeping with the fishies in no time. So anyway, yeah. So I just voted for Haruhi PlayStation Portable. Haruhi Suzumiya. And with that being said, I want to thank Slim. Light does really have weird things. Wait. Light does really weird things when you start getting closer to its speed. You're absolutely right, Slim Nim. And I'm not necessarily even doing anything like, with the actual speed of light. But it's funny you mention that because there is a game I learned about made by MIT. And it simulates what happens when you're moving near the speed of light. You pick up watermelons. And after you pick up 100 watermelons, you're moving at like 99% the speed of light. And, it shows you like the way the colors behave, how the image looks kind of skewed. I've seen a number of interesting, experiments in that one Anton Petrov video about, weird things that happen when you're moving near the speed of light. So I do think that's very interesting. But yeah, I'm going to tinker with this. What I really want to do is this. I did this in the past. If you time it just right, you want to fly past the Earth like this. I'll show you one last thing. So if you time it right, you want it to fly past the Earth like this. But you want to do it in such a way that you're flying past the moon. So if you really get it right, it's like the movie The Core. Well, it's not like the movie The Core. In fact, there we go. So we do something like this. So I'm going to do it as a test right now. But what I want to do is I want to like do this. But I want to get it like where I'm going into the moon.
I see how it is. Oh God. Got blasted. He's a DJ, goes by the name of Ron.
And I want to fly not into the moon, but what I want to do is I want to fly where the moon is like kind of here. Doing something like this, and I want the Earth to do the same thing, and I want to do it while also coming from all the way over here. So I want to have a seamless video where you're doing this, then you're getting near the Earth. And I think the best way to do it is to do it in stages. So that's sort of what I was doing like yesterday and the day before. I was doing it in stages so that I could just stitch it together afterwards. Because it could be very tricky to try to get it all to do it in one single continuous shot. And with that being said, we are indeed going to end today's show. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for, allowing me to jump around to various topics. I'm glad that I was able to cover that one very important topic and play the same video of the man on the bicycle like 4 times. I think it was worth it. I think it's important to remember that man, or at least to remember his spirit. I don't know if he's alive or not, but the spirit, the attitude he had is a type of positive attitude that anybody should be bringing to any protest. Whatever they're protesting, that's the mindset to have. Don't be a dick. Just enthusiastically show up and, speak your piece, stand your ground respectfully. And when a tyrannical crackdown happens, hopefully enough people see it, it helps to change sentiment or something in time. Or like I said, like unfortunately, like that's why it's so depressing to watch that guy. It's like on one angle, like you want to love the guy and you do. But then you're always thinking about how he's riding his bike into a train wreck. And that can be a little bit disheartening, So with that being said, once again, I do want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank
some person or someone,
You can just kind of
the Art and Times is a good choice to raid. Interesting.
Is there any shit back here that I can...
Who is the Art and Times? Oh, good. We have him here. We have his link. We already have him. We got 2 links. You can raid either one. Okay, this is America. You guys have freedom.
Alright.
You guys have the freedom to raid Aris.
Around here.
I do have them open. I'm looking at them right now. I have both of them open. Look, I got both of them open right here. I got Aris and yeah. I'm gonna put them on different monitors next, but
Weird little...
ultimately I'm gonna open them up in Firefox and use pop-out windows. That's what I'm actually gonna do with them. Pop-out windows are cool. So check this out. This is a cool feature. You can take a window in Chrome like this.
Listen,
In fact, let's do that with
do
let's do it with this guy here.
right?
And in Firefox, you can do it with multiples, but in Chrome, you can only do it with one window. But see that? I now have a floating window, so I can go to my right monitor, and while I'm looking at space, I can put the video up like this. And I can continue to play the game, and it usually stays on top. In that case, it didn't, but sometimes... Oh, that's because it's Chrome. But the Firefox version usually stays on top. And you can do that with multiple videos in Firefox, but you can only do that with one video in Chrome. So anyway, with that being said, you guys...
Sumo,
Did I post a link yet?
before,
Raid the Art and Times
switch to...
or
My answer is yes.
Aris
Answer is
218.
a resounding...
So I'm gonna be very egalitarian. Get it? Egalitarian instead of egalitarian.
Like, that's all there is to
So
it.
because this is America, you guys have a free choice. But if you guys were in the country where that massacre occurred, you would have to pick one. I'm
also
kidding, but oh shit, I didn't cover that. But funny
the
story,
risk, the
I gotta get a
risk
picture of that. Last thing, I swear,
of everything falling apart.
Tank Cookie. I swear to God, this happened. It's hilarious.
All right, yay.
This is absolutely
Hello,
hilarious.
Ronnie. Hello, Neptune. How's it
See
going?
that kid right there?
No?
See what he's holding in his hand?
Well, this time it was intentional.
He got in big trouble for this shit.
Intentional to switch
Well,
over.
at least somewhat big trouble. I don't know if he's in big trouble. Look at that. So apparently on the eve of the Tiananmen Square massacre, or like a few days before, they had this cake and it's got Oreos and
'Cause I was looking at it.
it's got a tank turret. And I don't think they had any intent at all. This was an accident. But it got shut down in like 3 seconds flat. Like, well, like it got shut down in half a minute's time, not even. It got shut down so fast.
So this
And I just think it's like
scenario,
kind of funny, like how sensitive they are. And of course, when that happened, people were like, "Hey, what did he say?" And then other people commenting like, "What really happened on that day?" So now there's like, people like who weren't that aware of the details are now inquiring for details, and other people are kind of like,
roads
you get the idea. So anyway,
All right, we're
he seems like a funny guy. I did watch one on the Bash show, on the Sumo Bash, and some person he's pretty good. The Art and Times guy, he's pretty cool. No, I like it when he was on with Angela Curry. I think he's cool. So I'm happy to tune in and watch him play Nintendo Switch and Astro Boy.
man. Listen.
Oh no, wait,
nobody
not the
has-
Astro Boy. The title literally says not the Astro Boy you were looking for. Well, anyway, okay. Jokes aside, we're gonna finally do one last goodbye. So yeah, I want to thank
Damn, this game is
ordinary,
so
everyday heroism in the face of adversity. I said that wrong.
Let's start these
I
races.
said that again, Game Gear Goddess.
Moo Meadows.
Ordinary, everyday heroism.
How you doing?
Heroism.
All right. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm chewing on my words here.
Straight up.
Anyway, as Game Gear Goddess quotes, ordinary, everyday heroism in the face of adversity becomes extraordinary. Yeah, exactly. And it's the thing, is like, just,
Yes.
in those conditions, that becomes extraordinary. So with that being said, I do want to say a shout out to RS218, who is currently streaming live and yet still put my link out in his chat to get people to come to my show
Telling you.
and cannibalize his viewership, which I refuse to do.
Yes,
So
I like
we're going
all
to send
comes
you
from
people there. But I did post 2 links because, like I said,
here.
it's a free
Try to
country.
unlock everything first, and
We
if you
generally don't run over our citizens with tanks over here, unlike other places.
Fucking Christ.
So, as a result, it also means that you are free to tune into either. It is very late, man. I know. No, you're good. It's funny though, and I forget what 07 means. I forget if 07 is like a yo or a hug. I see people say 07, and I try to figure out if it's like an emoji, like those Chinese emoticons, Japanese emoticons. Where the people are doing like the funny squiggly lines.
Yep.
But I digress.
Screw the 50cc.
It's a salute. Oh, I get it now. Oh yeah, I see it now. I see it. I got it. Oh, good. I can use. That's easier than typing a salute because, like, when you try to do a salute,
Yeah. Gam.
like not every one of these, like look, I can type Sal, it works, but if I type salute, I only get the Vulcan salute. So I have to type Sal, and then I get the regular salute.
It is.
And then in some browsers you can type in Vulcan, but if you're on Firefox, you can't type Vulcan, and I do got to type salute. So it's like, yeah. So those are the salutes that I sometimes use, but it can be tedious. And if 07 is a known, salute, I'd use it. But anyway, like I said, I want to thank RS218, Game Gear Goddess, Some Person, Awesome One, Slim and Nim, Fabric Phones, Ooh La La. I love those. Excuse me. We also had Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips. We had Last Call with Troy Pichelli. He's a cool cat right there. Like, really, he knows his Star Wars lore. He's got a good, he's got a good discussion show. And if I didn't go out on Friday nights, I tune into him more frequently on Friday night. I believe that's when he has the shows on Friday night and Saturday morning. He has other time slots, but that's one of his big shows, in my opinion. And his lovely, lovely wife, Netta's Network, also highly professional, good streaming content, all of that stuff, and just an all-around cool cat. And then we had California Ford 44. She's always good to have around. We had LCX. She's got a cool theme song on her show. You guys should tune in. She's got a great theme song. She doesn't play it every day. We can always go back to her previous videos, right? She has it uploaded as a song. She once did a cover song of a song that I didn't know was a cover song until like 2 months after I heard the cover. But anywho, with that being said, we will now hereby... Hey, what up, Snow? You live long and prosper as well, my friend. Thanks for that. And once again, Ars, you cool, man, and thank you for tuning in anyway. Thank you for sharing the link. And let's get back to your show, my friend, because I don't want to disrupt your show. I see we got some good company in the chat, so I'll drop by. Of course, I'm already there, but I mean, I will say hi to the actual friends there as soon as I conclude this stream. So with that being said, it's true. I do run the Monday show, but it's on Thursday. And actually, that's a little bit of a misnomer because I put the date as the 5th, but it's not the 5th anymore, is it? Today's the 6th, right? Yeah. That means I got to wish my friend happy belated birthday, too. I have a friend whose birthday was. So, see, I put 6/5 on here, but it was already 12 midnight when I did this. So, it was almost 1 a.m. when I did this. So, you get the idea. So, yeah, it's a bit of a misnomer. But you know what? Until I go to bed, it's not technically Friday. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And you're right, Oris. As long as it's not Friday the 13th, it's all fun and games. So with that being said, once again, we had 2 hyperactive hyperlinks here. So I'm going to post them in first, second order. So you got the guy with the Switch 2. If you want to hang out with Awesome One, he's there. Ah, damn. And then if you want to come and hang out with me, I'll be at both places. I will be at Oris's channel, where he's going to be playing FF8 and or Game Boy and more, and maybe Harui.
Got milk? Yeah, you do.
Suzumiya. I love how Haruhi Suzumiya sounds like an Italian name. She kind of looks Italian too, right? Long black hair. Lovely Italian princess there. No, she's totally Japanese though. But kind of sounds Italian. It sounds like Maria, but Suzumiya. I mean, it's okay if you don't want to play Haruhi. I voted for Haruhi just to be a contrarian, but, if everyone else likes a different game, I'm cool with that. But I'll be there anyway. So with that being said, she is kawaii, right? Right? She is kawaii. Very kawaii. And that's why everyone's got to appease her, because if you don't appease her, it could mean the end of the world. I mean, what a hell of a plot right there. So with that being said, we will now finally, once and for all, and once again, I want to thank everyone for sticking around for the heavy topic, for the light topic, for me jumping around to different topics. I've already named everyone in the chat, including Snow. Good to see you, Snow. Thanks for dropping by. I don't know if I've ever seen you tune in before, but it's a pleasure to have everyone here. And with that being said, we will hereby... Wait, I got to say the usual things. Really? Tiananmen Square 2.0 is currently taking place, but it's not going to go Ping's way. Oh, yeah. So, real quick on that. So, Xi Jinping was laying low for nearly 2 weeks. I think he's resurfaced, but originally I theorized, I was open to the idea that maybe things could be getting stricken up in the Chinese government, but I don't think they're necessarily going to oust him from power. But it looks like, essentially, they got other guys, the elders are sort of running the show right now. and he's kind of more like, you know, a spokesman for the time being, or at least he doesn't have as much leverage as he once did. So I think that it's going to be interesting to watch China right now. Certainly their party politics, they're changing things up a little bit, but I don't think it's going to result in drastic change, but I could be wrong. But you know, we'll see what happens, you know? I mean, like, you know, I think it's important to be cautious in our optimism. And a healthy dose of pessimism is sometimes, you know, the logical thing. But, you know, maybe they make some more sensible decisions, you know? Maybe, because, I mean, look, I think like the markets can be a great equalizer. The freedom to conduct trade, the freedom to earn money. I mean, that's part of the idea of China was like, you don't need freedom, you have money. You know, like that was sort of what they, but that only works until everyone is broke, until everyone can't get a job. Then you got problems. So they got some interesting imbalances in that country right now. And that will shake things up, I think, on the grassroots level. The question is, will the government be receptive to the needs of the people? And I suspect that, if only for self-preservation, the Communist Party might be somewhat receptive to the people. And due to the way, on one angle, it's really hard to, like, you know, have, they have everyone under surveillance, they have a very tight lid on things, but at the same time, it's also easier for information to get out. So they're going to have to tread carefully, you know, they can't, like you said, it's a bit of a slow game, and that's a big part of it, is like, even with war, like, between us, China, Australia, like, this, in the Philippines, whether we're openly at war, some argue, some strategists argue, I don't know if they're right, that from the mindset of those inside the party, we're already at war. The, you know, part of a war where you shoot, where, you know, you open fire is just the last stage of the war. And it's an interesting perspective. It's got me thinking about anything I see, any moves I see being made, and decisions being made, and things where they try to curry favor. Even on the island of Saipan, they try to curry favor through bribery and building this really big hotel, which never got opened up because it was a tofu project, from what I understand. So, in other words, while some would argue that China is exercising soft power even on our own Pacific Island territories, there's evidence that you could see through a lot of the bullshit. And so we'll just see what happens, you know?
It's like almost like a skate park.
Yeah, no worries. No, you just got me interested on a tangent real quick. When you have over 10 million college students with no place to go, you can guarantee there will be drastic change. I think the Chinese people are tired of starving to death. And no worries. So there we go. And finally, it's game theory in action. Snow, thank you for chiming in. Thank you for the thought-evoking, you know, comment. And like you said, Arab Emirates, if you want to talk about massive failed projects, oh my God. Dude, don't even, yeah, maybe we'll do that next week. That's a nice soft topic we could do. Ooh, that's nice. Like, we just look at the stupid islands in Dubai, the artificial islands. That's a good one. And we can even talk about the Chinese artificial islands in the Atlantic, too, and implications, the geopolitical implications. You know, it's actually a good balanced soft topic. I don't think it's terribly controversial, all that stuff. You know, I think it's all a matter of fact. And like you say, Aura says, it happens. So with that being said, we shall now ITNC. Don't know what ITNC means, but I'll leave that to the chat to figure out. And with that being said, for anybody watching on the replay, if you have any questions, comments, ideas, or concerns, please leave a comment. Please check out the 2 hyperlinks that I will repost in the chat right now. You can either raid the guy on the left side of my screen or the guy on the right side of my screen. I'm way cooler friends with the guy on the right side. So, you know, you pick one. I won't hold it against you. I won't judge you. You know, I'm not watching the chat to judge who's going to get, you know, high-ranking status in my cult. I mean, my channel. And with that being said, we will now hereby end transmission. Thanks again for watching, guys.